Hello, everyone, and welcome to a review that is, I'm sure, long overdue, but at the same time, I think it needed to be waited on. This is going to be my review of Star Wars The Last Jedi, and I apologize for the lateness of this review. I realize this is coming out 11 days after the movie came out, but because of the way this movie is done, I needed to wait until I saw it at least a second time before I felt I could be able to do this review to kind of help my feelings and opinions about this movie, because there is so much to think about and process with this. And I saw it on the Friday it came out, but I felt like I had to see it at least a second time before I could be able to do this review. While I'm talking about this, I'm going to be playing Lego Star Wars The Force Awakens here in the background, as you can see. Just kind of messing around with it. Just cause Star Wars related, I guess. I thought about doing the Old Republic, but then I thought, why don't I just play the Lego game? It's really not that big a deal, and But anyway, this is apparently the prologue where we get to do the Battle of Endor from Return of the Jedi, where we get to rewatch the Empire get defeated by a bunch of bears. But anyway, yeah. I saw The Last Jedi for a second time. I saw it last night. I actually did something for this review that I have never done. But hold on a second. That's right. I forgot. I got to do these Lego things of move this here, move that there. It's been a while since I played a Lego game, so forgive me if my memory on its mechanics and all that is kind of rusty. But if you're wondering why I haven't gone back to the other Lego games I did playthroughs of, like the DC and the Marvel ones, well, no, let's just say that the formula started to get a little. How do I put this? It's a little less fun when you are doing this by yourself. I could tell this is meant to be played with other people and friends, and well, who knows when I'll go back to those. Those will probably be on indefinite hiatus until I have nothing else I want to record, or in case I do find motivation to go back to it. But anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the latest Star Wars movie, which has probably become the most divisive Star Wars movie that we may have ever had. I don't even remember if any of the prequels were this divisive. Basically, because, well, from what I recall, not many people were saying that they loved any of the prequel movies when they came out. People were like, "Yeah, not really that fond of what we're seeing here with the Force with these prequel movies." Huh. That's right, I forgot about the controls here. Oh, there's Chewie. I was like, why can't I do this with Chewie? I was like, it says Chewie's there, but... Oh, because apparently Chewie can't... Oh, there we go. Anyway, I believe it said that Chewie can do this. Yeah, there we go. But anyway, yeah. I can't remember anyone saying they loved The Last Jedi, or not The Last Jedi, the prequel movies. So I feel like this is more divisive than any of the previous ones. I mean, you could say because of the Ewoks that some of us were a little divided on Return of the Jedi, but really, despite the Ewoks, I mean, Return of the Jedi has so many other great things about it that I don't think we've ever been like divided where some of us loved it and some of us hated it. At least not that not that I know of. But oh, look at that. But I have seen so many different comments and such of people saying they either loved it or they hated it. Oh, lovely! I unlocked an Ewok. How wonderful. But yeah, it's it's amazing that how I've seen many different reactions to this movie, where some have been saying they love it, some have been saying that this is the worst we have ever had since the Phantom Menace, and despite how you may think, I don't hate the Phantom Menace. So I thought that was kind of a funny statement to say from the person who posted that review on their channel. But I mean, I've never felt that way about Phantom. I don't hate it, but he's like, "What do I do?" Um, here we go. But yeah, I actually wrote down notes for this review because there's so much to talk about here, and I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to fully uh, get everything I want to talk about or all my thoughts because there's just so much. This review would be almost as long as the movie if that was the case. But there's another reason: puzzles in Lego games that would make me go, wait, what? What am I supposed to do? Because now I'm like, huh? But anyway, um, yeah, The Last Jedi has a pretty awesome opening battle, which the first time I saw, there were things about it I didn't know. Oh, look, you're supposed to push. Okay, there were things about it I did not know that I was supposed to notice and pay attention to, which then made sense later on when I saw it a second time, such as the woman who works on, oh my gosh, get rid of this guy, who tries to get the bombs dropped because they're trying to do. I mean, the movie opens with a funny sequence, though it was kind of odd because we get it because it has to do with like cell phone humor, but we've never seen cell phones in Star Wars, so I wondered whether or not that would work. But yeah, the audience got a kick out of it because it was basically Poe just trying to make fun of Hux, and I guess it worked because I mean, you realize that Poe was just doing that to stall and buy time, but what made it work was that Hux was responding, saying, "This is Hux," blah 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 blah. Like he would like go off on this tangent, and he's like, and it was like Poe thought it was an answering machine. that was like his outgoing. Like, this is Hux. The rebels are defeated. You will be destroyed. And he's like, okay, obviously I got his answering machine. Can you please let me know when Hux is available to talk. And he's like, can he hear me? I can hear you. Can you hear me? So in that regard, it was funny. I wasn't really sure if that dynamic really worked within the whole Star Wars universe because are there cell phones in Star Wars? I don't think so. Not that I recall. But if they want to go with that, oh my gosh, what am I supposed to do here? But anyway, pretty funny opening joke there, and then we have an awesome space battle involving a dreadnought and like I guess he was a general. He's like, of course they are, and I was like, oh, this guy could have been an awesome general, but then he gets killed off when they do it when they destroy the dreadnought. But it cost a lot of lives. I just realized that Ewok is constantly going up there, and there's also something else for me to build here. Oh my goodness, don't you just love puzzles in Lego games? This is one of the reasons why I stopped wanting to play them. But, anyway, back to the movie. We have our cool opening space battle, and it plays into what happens later on with Poe Dameron, and his personality, wanting to get in a X-wing and blow stuff up with of course BB-8 at his side, and then after that we get our first sequence that we had been waiting for 2 years, and that of course was, oh my gosh, really, killed just because. Hold on a second. I'm like, what is this trying to tell me? Because right now Han is getting killed. Anyway, am I supposed to go back to the Ewok? Ugh. But, we go to the island where we left off at the end of Force Awakens, where we finally get to have our answer. What happens in regards to Rey showing up and handing Luke the lightsaber? And what could have been a monumental moment of Luke wanting to know where the lightsaber that he last saw when he had his hand cut off in Empire Strikes Back, imposed to him like wanting to know, oh my gosh, where did you get this? Like where did you get this? Like all like curious, like I haven't seen this in over 40 years. Anything like that? Nope. He tosses it over his shoulder, which was pretty funny. And it makes sense when you understand where he's coming from. That he's like, I want nothing to do with this ever again. But that was the thing I wanted to know more than anything. Was I just wanted Luke to just go off and talk about why he has come to the conclusions that he has, and we kind of did. Not quite to the extent that I thought we were gonna get, but anyway, he basically is doing the whole "go away, leave me alone. I just want to come here to die and stop bothering me. I'm not gonna train you," and that whole what I kind of expected. Chewie is there. He bursts down the door. He's like, "Hey, Luke, wake up, you idiot!" And he's like, "Chewie, what are you doing here?" and then they tell him about what happened to Han Solo at the end of Force Awakens. Luke still doesn't want anything to do with it, even though she brings up the Leia card, and he's like, "What do you think I'm gonna do? Just walk out there with a laser sword and face down an entire army? I am stuck in this opening puzzle." This is why I stopped playing Lego games. Look at this. What am I supposed to do? Look at this. Instant death. Anyway, hold on a second. Oh, what am I supposed to do? Whatever. So we get that bit, and we basically then just see what Luke likes to do during his time on that island. Like, he goes to what I assume are like Star Wars versions of elephant seals, I guess, somewhat, except that they're also kind of like with cows, because he basically goes to them. They have udders, and he squeezes the blue milk that he used to drink from Aunt Faru in the original movie. If you remember, in the original movie, they were giving him blue milk. So it kind of comes around, I guess, full circle, that there he is, just squeezing it right out of the seal's udder and he drinks it in front. I loved this look. He drinks it like facing Rey, and then he gives her this look like, that's the good stuff. That's the real good stuff. And I'm like, why are you making that face at her? Like, why are you doing that? It was just, it brought back that weirdness element to Star Wars, which many of us absolutely love. It was just a hilarious moment. And the seal like looks at Rey like, "Ooh, you saw that, did you?" And then like he does this thing where he like uses a pole vault to get from one end of a cliff to another, and then uses it to spear a fish, and and use that to eat dinner or something. I was like, okay. Again, there's a question mark there, but it's not telling me what I'm supposed to do. It's not saying, hey, use this character, use this power. Nothing. It's not telling me anything. This is... It doesn't tell you anything. It's not giving me a hint. It's not saying, hey, you gotta do this. Nope, nothing. Oh my gosh, are you telling me it's supposed to have me do this? Again. Hold on a second. This is really bothering me. The fact that I can't seem to figure out what's going on here. But, yeah, so basically she's following him around, seeing what he's doing, trying to, convince him to come back. We also get to check in on Kylo Ren. We see him with the mask on. after the battle, the Resistance gets away, and Snoke is very upset with Hux at this point. Um, but then Hux goes, "It's okay. We have them uh, tight on the end of a rope." And then you find out what he means. Basically, they have a device that lets them track them through light speed. And if you're going, no, wait a minute. There apparently people have done their research on this over a week. Apparently, there was some dialogue. I'll have to rewatch Rogue One to catch this, but apparently there is some dialogue in Rogue One that establishes that the Empire was actually researching the technology to travel through hyperspace. Now, I mean, oh my gosh, what am I supposed to do here? There's two things here, and it's like, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. It's like, make up your mind, game. What am I supposed to do? I just got to unlearn what you have learned. But apparently the Empire had been researching that, and I guess maybe the First Order adopted that or took that when they became a thing. Again, we don't know the origins of the First Order, how they came to be. So I guess we're supposed to assume that they got everything that the Empire had, or that what was left of the Empire became the First Order, I'm guessing. It's nothing's really clear. I'm sure it's going to be explained in a book, which unfortunately that's going to be a thing that you feel like certain aspects of the story in this are going to be done, is that they're just going to explain certain things in books rather than have it be in the movie. But oh my gosh, this is driving me crazy. You guys are seeing me do nothing because I cannot figure out what I am supposed to do here. Don't tell me that I am supposed to hit this guy from far off with this Ewok. That's what I'm supposed to do here. If that's all I need to do, oh my goodness, that's what I need to do. Are you serious right now? And now it's a shooter. Wow. Okay. I was not aware that this was supposed to be all of a sudden turn into a shooter. But okay then. But anyway, because of this, that's how Hux gets out of trouble with Snoke, and Snoke's like, "Oh, you wonder why I keep someone like him around? Well, that's because that's his use. He provided us with that in order to track them." So that's basically what happens there. Hux is like, "It's okay, we're tracking them through hyperspace, it's fine. We're gonna be able to stop, catch them and everything." And, okay, that's it. There we go. Oh my goodness. But, shoot the Lego targets to destroy the explosives. Well, hey, at least you guys are seeing me make some progress instead of staring at that. Anyway, Snoke starts kind of taunting Kylo Ren about his failures to be what he hoped he would become. The fact that he was defeated by Rey, having never held a lightsaber, that he was like, "When I found you, I saw your potential, I saw your bloodline, that you could be the heir apparent to Darth Vader, and I clearly was mistaken. You're not the next Darth Vader. You're just a boy in a mask." And he even, makes this point where he's, asking about the wound, and Ren has the mask on, he's like, "It's nothing." And he, I was mistaken. He's like, "I've given myself to you on the doctor." And he's like, "Dude, will you take that stupid thing off?" And he takes the mask off, and that's the last time we will ever see him wear that mask at that point. He's like, "You're just a child in a mask. You're no Darth Vader." And so then after that, he leaves, and he looks at the mask, and he realizes, you know what? I'm going to prove this guy wrong. And he smashes the mask into pieces in the elevator. It's one of the best scenes showing the growth of his character, that he's growing from what he was in Force Awakens, and now he's gonna make sure that he's someone different, that he's his own person, not supposed to be the next Darth Vader, but he's just gonna be his own guy, and he's gonna prove to Snoke that he's not just a kid in a mask, that he's actually a force to be reckoned with. And so then we get he then says, "Prepare my ship," because he's preparing for a battle. Because of course they're tracking them through light speed. We don't know this at the moment, um, but yeah, it's that becomes evident later on. So then we are led to them finding them, and they're bombarding the cruiser. So the fighters go around, and we get the scene that we saw in the trailer where Ren is considering blasting the bridge, but he senses Leia there, and you can see on his face that he's hesitant because he doesn't want to you know, he doesn't have the hate for his mother that he did for Han. So he thinks about it, but then he stops. But then the TIE fighters that were with him do, and the bridge blows open, and they all fly, either get killed by the explosion or fly out into space. This includes Leia and Admiral Akbar. Oh, Admiral Akbar. Oh, I was. For those of us who love Admiral Akbar, who love him going, "There's a trap," it was so sad to see him go out that way. He deserved so much better. But the reason they do this is important. It does play a role. Oh my goodness, are you telling me the Ewok is the only one that can do this? All right. Again, Lego puzzles. Aren't they fun? See? What am I supposed to do here? Ugh. Alright. Let's try this again. Over here. There we go. Let's see if this works. Anyway, this then led to, I was obviously sad that Admiral Akbar went at that point, but apparently I need R2 or BB-8 for this. But then why is that there if I don't have them here? Anyway, this led to a moment that for me is very odd. It's odd in a number of ways, partly because, of course, of the sad passing of Carrie Fisher. So, oh, I just noticed R2 was right here, stuck in this tree. Oh, okay, so that's apparently a thing. I was like, what? Where is R2? What am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to blast R2? Is that what I'm supposed to do here? No? What am I supposed to do? Not really sure what I'm supposed to do here. Anyway, let's break this and try it again. Oh, make a third thing to help get R2 out of there. Silly me, how could I not have figured that out? Alright, there we go. Now I'm going to get R2 out of there. But, so because of the passing of Carrie Fisher, I was completely expecting that at some point in this movie, they perhaps worked in a scene where Leia dies. And that would be how they would kind of write her off, you know, as a way to kind of handle the passing of the actress and, you know, handle that character in the context of the story to explain why this character would not be around anymore. But what I thought was going to be her death scene, her death moment where we say goodbye to her, ended up being not that. We see her floating in space, and we're all thinking, well, obviously it's outer space. She's dead. But then her hand starts moving, her eyes open, and she basically, it was the way I would describe it, it was basically, it seemed like she all of a sudden went Superman. She extends her arm out and she starts flying forward just like Superman would in outer space. I almost expected John Williams to start playing the Superman thing, dun, 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 as Leia was flying towards the cruiser, It was just like you start asking questions in your mind about like how does outer space work in this universe? Wouldn't she have been completely out of air? Wouldn't like space have wrecked her body? Or there were a number of questions in that regard, but then you go, well, this is Star Wars. I'm sure there's a lot of things that work differently or things we don't understand. I think I've heard an explanation that in the extended universe, apparently in a book concerning the prequels, there was a point during the Clone Wars where Anakin fell into a volcano and he created a force bubble to help him survive that environment. So apparently, the possible explanation could be that Leia, who let's remember, even though she is force sensitive, we've never seen her really use the force. As far as I can recall, this was the first time she's ever really used the force. She used it to create a force bubble and fly towards the ship to keep herself alive. It was just a bit kind of that it was one of those kind of moments, and there are a couple of moments like that in this movie that threw me for a loop, especially the first time I saw it. The second time you see it, it's like, okay, I guess I can believe that, but the first time you see it, oh, it just throws you for such a loop, because at that point I started getting the first time I saw it, I was getting a little emotional because I thought this was us saying goodbye to her, and then all of a sudden, just like that, she becomes Superman and flies through space. It was like, wait, huh? What? This is not going how I thought it was going to go, but that line from the trailer that Luke says in the movie, "This is not going to go the way you think," it does feel that way for a lot of the movie. I can understand why a lot of people felt that way about this movie, that it does kind of go that way. There is a stormtrooper helmet on top of that thing. That is a little morbid. But oh, I need Admiral Akbar for this, apparently. Oh, okay. I didn't know he was here. And oh, there's a thing over there, but I'm not gonna bother. Who am I supposed to get for this? Oh, Han. Okay. There we go. Oh. Okay, I didn't know Han had that. Okay. Oh, a quick time event in a Lego game? Are you serious? But anyway. Oh, look at this. Now I get to pilot one of these. Okay, sorry, I got caught up in trying to figure out how the aiming thing works, and plus I'm piloting an ATST, so I was like, ooh, look at what I get to pilot now. But anyway, back to that. So they put Leia, I guess she's supposed to be in a coma or she's unconscious, and they put her under a life mask. And they did figure about them tracking them through light speed, and I mean, an important thing to note, though, is that Poe gets demoted because of his actions during the battle, which she told him to get out of there after he accomplished a certain part of the mission, but he wanted to see it through to destroy the Dreadnought, but in the end it costs a bunch of lives. And keep in mind that the Resistance at this point does not have that many lives left. So the fact that he did something that cost them a huge portion of what was left of their forces is a pretty big deal, which you go, yeah, you're justified in demoting him, Leia. But this does kind of play a role in one of a plot hole that I have a big concern with. So, because all the leadership, including Admiral Akbar, Admiral Akbar, may he rest in peace. Everyone except Leia dies. Leia is the only one left, though she's unconscious. So they turn it over to a new character we've never met before, someone named Vice Admiral Holdo, who apparently does have relevance, I guess, in the extended lore as a childhood friend of Leia. Which my question then is, okay, like, what's her backstory in terms of like? By the way, C-3PO up there. But I think I've heard that apparently she's from a planet that's very conservative, and the reason she has the purple hair is to rebel against that or something. I don't know, but I guess I was wondering about, like, is she a childhood friend from Alderaan? But apparently the answer is no if she is from that planet, because I was like, wouldn't she have been on Alderaan? But nope, she's not from Alderaan. And she's played by Laura Dern, the female scientist from Jurassic Park um, you guys remember her. And she takes command, and Poe goes to her and he's like, all right, so what's the plan? What can I do to help? And she's like, oh yeah, you're the guy that Leia demoted. Yeah, we don't need you right now. You're a bit of a hothead. You're a guy that's all about action. We don't need that right now. So why don't you just go back to your post and just kind of not do anything? Just let me, just do what I tell you to. And right off the bat, it's like, okay, you are not making yourself very likable. You're not encouraging, that kind of hope that your troops need as a from you as a leader. And this leads to conflict. But in the grand scheme of things, when you find out more about it, there didn't need to be, if there was just simple communication. And there's no explanation as to why there wasn't. Yeah, see, this leads to the plot hole in the movie that I had the biggest concern with on my second viewing. When we find out that it wasn't like her being a coward or a traitor or anything like that, and you find out what the real plan was, you then go, well, then why didn't she just tell them that? No explanation. And then you realize that it was more of a plot device. Like it wasn't a secret from Poe and the others because of reasons within the story. It was a plot device or plot hole for the audience, but it didn't make sense within the context of the story. A plot device or a secret kept from the audience for a reveal or something is okay, but it has to be it has to work within the context of the story, of what's going on, without the awareness of an audience, unless they intended to break the fourth wall, which they didn't. But it just seemed like it was only meant for the audience, but it didn't make sense within the context of the story, and thus it creates a big plot hole in that regard, where you're wondering about why that they wouldn't just do that. And then you find out, oh, it was because of this, but it's not a legit explanation. They never really explain why, and you never really get an answer to it. But then it wouldn't have led to other things and other scenes that they apparently wanted to do, such as the casino planet, because Finn meets the sister of the woman who died in the bombing attack. And you can tell it's her sister because she has the other half of this necklace pendant that they shared. I noticed, oh my gosh, that's hilarious. They're watching the movie. But she, like, her sister in the opening act had it facing one direction, then Rose has it facing the other direction, so it looks like two halves of the same necklace pendant. And so she's mourning her loss, and this is while she's, like, near the escape pods. And Finn, realizing that Rey could come back to a trap, wants to get out of there to try and prevent her from getting there. But of course, he, somewhat running away again. Rose prevents him from doing that because she sees that as desertion. And this is pretty much how they meet and they discuss what's going on. And Rose kind of figures out that they could be able to somehow disable this. But they have to go get someone who can hack into Snoke's ship, which then they call Maz from Force Awakens, and she's apparently in the middle of a fight because I'm guessing she had a droid doing Skype on that droid in the middle of a firefight, saying, "You got to go to this casino planet and find this hacker in order to hack the tech in order to get in." And I was thinking to myself as she was describing this hacker, because I would have just lost my mind and been all giddy if this is how they worked in this cameo. I was hoping when I saw the planet, I thought to myself, this is where I would hope we would find him. Oh my gosh, am I about to? Yep, I'm Luke. I'm about to face the Emperor. Um. Oh, it's Luke and Vader versus the Emperor. Nice. Whoops. Whoops. But sorry, I got caught up in playing as Luke and Vader. But I was hoping so badly that we were going to get a cameo on that casino planet from the one, the only Lando Calrissian. You know, from Billy D. Williams. I thought that was gonna be how they would somehow bring him back in. That Maz, it would make sense. Maz, she knew Chewie and Han. It would make sense that Maz would know Lando as well. And I thought that environment was going to be a place that you would find Lando. But sadly, it was not Lando that they ran into. They were trying to find the hacker. They thought they spotted him, but then they got arrested by the guards, who looked kind of similar to how the old Rebel Alliance soldiers looked in the original Star Wars movie. In terms of their getup, it was pretty funny in that regard. Hold on a second. I'm trying to figure this out. But then they get arrested and they go to the prison and they meet someone in their cell who is also a hacker. Can I switch to Vader? Can I switch from Luke to Vader? Hold on. I can. I'm Darth Vader now. Yes. Very nice. All right. We meet up with, wouldn't you know it, Benicio del Toro playing a hacker character named DJ, who has, I guess, a speech impediment, I guess? Sort of? Somewhat? Because he'll say, he's like, I got the deal. And it almost sounded like Roger Rabbit. Please! In that regard, where he's got that speech impediment thing going on. It was just kind of like, okay. Although I first made a TIE Fighter, now I'm making an X-Wing. How fitting, considering that he has dialogue where he shows both of those. But, he says, like, oh yeah, I can do it. I could do it. Absolutely, I could do it. He just wants payment and such. Hold on a second. That's right, Luke has to do this. Because it's an X-Wing. Whee! Interesting boss battle here. But, yeah, they get off that casino planet, which basically served only a couple of purposes, like to do a couple of messages about animal cruelty, about war profiteering, whatever. Many say it's their least favorite part of the movie. It's one of the, and I kind of agree. That was the part I was like, okay, time to go to the bathroom. On my second viewing, I was like, yep, we're at this point now. I can go to the bathroom. But let's see what I can do here. Come on. Alright, there we go. But, so basically they get out of there with BB-8 and Benicio del Toro's character, and he's gonna hack Snoke's ship for them so they can disable the lightspeed tracker. And hold on a second, let me look at my notes just to remind myself of where my train of thought was going with that. Yeah, I talked about Holdo versus Poe. We do, I think, go back to the island where Luke is to check in on them. And first off, let me point out the Porgs. I mean, basically, they were penguins, I guess. But they serve no purpose. They're not as bad as the Ewoks in that regard. Um, but they didn't really serve a purpose. They were just there just to, I guess, be cute and to sell merchandise because, of course, oh, we gotta buy the plushy toys. And it's just kind of like there was hype behind them, but there really didn't need to be. They served no purpose. They were just there, you know? They were just there. Um, but yeah, the porgs were just kind of pointless. They were just there to be cute, just to sell more plushies and merchandise for kids. But I will say there was a moment where uh, Luke is still conflicted about whether or not to do anything about helping or training Rey, and he goes onto the Falcon because he wanted to just kind of go down trip down memory lane. He goes in the cockpit. He finds this item which I'll have to rewatch to see if that ever played a role, but he apparently. Hold on a second. What am I supposed to do here? Oh. Ow. Okay. Hold on a second. Um, well, this seems a little confusing now. Now I'm trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do here. Um, just wreck those, I guess. Maybe. I don't know. It's like now I'm confused. Now I'm confused. Um. Oh, okay. You're supposed to throw your lightsaber at those targets. All right, fine. Anyway, he goes into the cockpit. He then goes around the ship, and he comes across R2, and he's like so happy and excited to see R2. Because of course, why wouldn't he be? And R2 starts talking to him, and I found there was a little line that I thought was really funny. It was almost an acknowledgement of what many in the fan base have said. Um, where R2 is talking and Luke says, "Hey, hey, hey, Sacred Island, watch the language." Many of us have joked that lots of R2's dialogue is censored. Just like that's why it's all bleep 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 because he's cursing all the time, and I guess they knew about that joke and they decided to kind of like acknowledge it by having Luke insinuate that he actually was cursing there. And he's like, "Hey, watch the language." So he's like, "Nothing you can say can get me to come back." And R2 plays the hologram of Leia from the original movie. He's like, that was a cheap move. And many of us got emotional seeing that because, of course, of Carrie Fisher. And it's like, fine, I'll teach you 3 lessons. I'll teach you the ways of the Jedi and why they need to end. And there's a very funny first training sequence where he's like questioning Rey about what she knows. She's like, "Oh, the Force is used to control people and make things float." And he's like, "Oh, wow, impressive. Every word you said was wrong." And he has her sit down with her legs crossed and he tries to explain to her what the Force is. Not quite the way Yoda explained it to him, but like he says, "Reach out," and she literally reaches her hand out. And he's like, "Oh my gosh!" And so he like uses this little leaf, like to like mess with her, and she's like, "I feel something." He's like, "Oh," it's like you feel that? That's the Force. Oh, it's really strong. He slaps her hand with it. It was a really funny moment, just because it was Mark Hamill. I imagine that was like a moment he probably enjoyed there. Got to be kind of snarky with her. It was really funny. and we kind of progress there where he's testing like how she can sense the force and what she can feel and sense. That apparently there's an area there on that island that might be strong with the dark side, similar to that cave from Empire Strikes Back. And he gets scared by how strong she is with the force. And something interesting what happens to Rey while she's on this island. She apparently is able to have a conversation with Kylo Ren. Apparently they are able to connect to each other through the Force. They don't know how or why. Even if you pay attention to Kylo Ren's dialogue, he's like, where? It's like, can you see me where I am? I can see you, but I can't see where you are. It's like I see you there, but I don't see anything else, your surroundings or anything. And he's like, you couldn't be doing this yourself. You'd be dead if you were. And I was like, what is he talking about? And it becomes evident later on what he's referring to. So apparently, and then that was like the first time. The second time, he's like, why is the Force connecting us like this, where we can talk to each other like this? And she's just, anytime she sees him, she just wants to insult him, like, you monster, you murderer, and and he's more so just trying to figure out what's going on. Like, why is this going on? Why is this happening? Why can't I fire my blasters? Oh, there we go. I was like, why can't I fire my blasters? There we go. Now it's working. Now it's working. All right, now we're cooking. But it was just kind of interesting that all of a sudden, like, they're able to talk to each other. It was basically like the Force's version of FaceTime or Skype or whatever. And you don't know why. You find out later on why or how. But these conversations are actually some of the better parts of the movie, because you start to like really see how Kylo and Rey are the ones that are shining here and like really helping carry the movie. Oh, I had a boost. I didn't know I had a boost. Oh, now apparently it's Star Fox 64. Okay, here we go. Whee! Oh, hold on. I just realized. Yes. Oh my gosh. There we go. Now it feels more natural. There we go. I was like, it's like I want to push down to go up. There we go. All right. Whee! All right. There we go. Ah! Oh my gosh. It's been forever since I played Star Fox. But anyway. Oh my gosh. There's even a mini map on the bottom left there. This is like a Star Fox ripoff. But hey, how many times do people rip off Star Wars? So maybe that's fitting. Whee! All right, there we go. Boom, boom. There we go. Is that it? That's the ending sequence. Yep, there we go. Yeah, it was very, very well done scenes when they are connecting to each other through the Force. By the way, Kylo Ren's scar. I mean, they show him it getting repaired. There is one conversation they have where he doesn't have a shirt on, and then Rey is like flustered. She's like, "Could you please put like a cowl or something on, please, to cover yourself up?" And you see, I noticed this the second time I saw the movie last night. His scar that he got at the end of Force Awakens, that goes all the way down from the top of his face all the way down like towards his stomach. It's like all the way down his body. Now, I mean, Anakin's scar from Revenge of the Sith, we never really saw how he got that. Oh my gosh, they put, like, the remastered one. Yeah, see, there we go. Vader's like, hey, wait a minute. Look at this. Oh my goodness, and there's quite... Okay, this is what I like about these Lego games. They like to acknowledge like certain jokes or certain things that we know and have heard about, but that was kind of funny. Anyway, the thing about Anakin's scar in Revenge of the Sith, while it may have looked cool, we never saw him actually get it. We don't know what the true story was. I think Lucas was asked about, like, how did Anakin get that scar? And he's like, I don't know, he fell in the bathtub or something. You know, he had, like, no answer. He was like, I just thought it looked cool. And it kind of gives you his mindset on those movies. But anyway, I mean, we know where he got that scar from. We saw it. And the fact that it looks, you can see it went all the way down his body. It's like, wow. And my goodness, look at this roster. Woo! Whew, that is a huge roster. Oh my gosh, is that Savage from Clone Wars, the show down there at the bottom? That is really cool if they included characters from Clone Wars like Savage. But anyway, um, so that was one of the things I noticed there, and those are really cool moments. Um, I talked about DJ the hacker. We also get an explanation, I guess, as to what happened the night that Kylo left Luke. Where Luke tells the story about that night where he says he saw darkness in him, and then he says Kylo Ren turned on him and destroyed his temple and took a handful of his students with him to become the Knights of Ren, which we didn't see in this movie, again, but we hopefully will see them in the next one. Then Kylo tells the story to Rey, and he says that he awoke and saw that Luke was going to kill him with his lightsaber already ignited. And so he just fought back to prevent himself from getting killed. And that's what, he thought Luke betrayed him. So then she confronts Luke on this, and he says that when he saw the darkness in him, he thought for a second that he could somehow end it, but then he immediately regretted it when he saw the lightsaber ignite, and he thought to himself, what am I doing? But it was already too late because Kylo woke up and saw that, and before he could explain what was going on or what he was thinking or trying to defend his actions, Kylo had already believed he was trying to kill him and betray him. And oh, there he is, Admiral Akbar. Admiral Akbar, we will miss you. But yeah, so it was kind of a down the middle kind of thing, and Rey believes that she can turn Kylo. That she can turn Ben, I guess. We can call him Ben, I guess, because she does call him Ben a few times in this. Oh, yeah, that's part of the DLC, I guess. Escape from Starkiller Base. What's this one? The Phantom Limb. So there's some other DLC things that you can be able to get here from the Season Pass. But, so she's going to leave and try to turn Kylo Ren back to the light side, and Luke is reluctant to go join her. And then we get to what is, without question, my favorite scene in the movie. Oh my goodness, did I love this scene. Luke grabs a torch, and he is going to, because I didn't point this out, the island he's on is apparently the island where the Jedi Order originated from, the original tree that holds the original sacred Jedi texts, and he's been keeping it there, like saying like me, they are the last of the Jedi religion, things like that. And he is going to burn it down. He's going to put an end to it. He's explained, I guess, that their whole legacy is failure and that's why they need to end. I'm BB-8 now. Yay! Look at this. Oh, that's so cool. Look at that. I'm just rolling really fast. That's really funny. But that's basically one of his reasons why he's done with the Jedi Order. It's he believes that they have just done nothing but fail and that it's time for them to end. So he's going to burn it down. He's going to end this once for all. He's going to burn the text. He's going to burn the tree. And then we see the ears, very familiar looking ears of a very beloved Jedi Master. And of course it is Yoda. And it's not, at first I thought it was going to be just once again the CGI Yoda from the prequels. And he says, Master Yoda. And then we see it is the puppet Yoda from Empire Strikes Back. It is the same puppet model. It may be a redone puppet of the same model. If it's the exact same puppet, it may have aged a bit, because it looked a little different. But for the most part, it looked exactly the same as it did in Empire Strikes Back. And it was Frank Oz. They got Frank Oz back to come back and do Yoda again. They even credited credited him in the credits. I noticed it, so I knew it was him. And he starts off, Young Skywalker. It was like, oh my goodness, it's the same Yoda from Empire Strikes Back, not the one from the prequels. But it was just wonderful. He's like, I'm going to burn it all down, Master Yoda. This is like the Jedi Order needs to end. It's time for this all to end. And he's going to, but then he stops and he's like, I can't do it. And Yoda, typical Yoda, he goes, and he raises his finger and he calls down lightning from the sky and sets the tree on fire. Which some of them are going, well, wait a minute. Since when can Force Ghosts have the power to call down lightning like that? You know, it was like now people are questioning, like the capabilities of Force Ghosts and their Force powers and things like that. And Luke is like, what have you done? And he's like, oh, young Skywalker, I have missed you. He's like trolling him, laughing with him, like, he's just playing with him. It's really great. And he's like, but the sacred texts. And he goes, oh, read them, have you? And he's like, and Luke goes, well, he's like, page turners. They were not. he's calling him out on his crap. He's like, calling you out on your BS. I am. You did not read them. It was just it was so typical classic Yoda. It was just absolutely fantastic. And he says something like, there is nothing in the tree that Rey does not already possess. And you find out later that that's because Rey actually took the texts from the tree with her when she left the planet. But Luke didn't know that. And but Yoda did. And he gives Luke some more wisdom and counseling, saying, they are what we grow beyond. That is the burden of all masters. It was one of the best scenes that they've ever had Yoda in, and I love the scenes with Yoda in Empire Strikes Back. This scene went right along with those scenes, with the scene where he explains to Luke what the Force is, lifting the X-Wing out of the swamp. This was a scene that was just as good as that. That's how great Yoda was in this scene. And we then see Rey going to the ship, wanting to convert Kylo and turn him back to the light. Kylo arrests her, takes her up to Snoke. She's still trying to convert him. She's like, I saw your future, that you will turn. And he's like, I saw your future too, and you'll turn, and you'll fight at my side. So, I mean, they're really playing up this relationship that Kylo and Rey might have right now. It's very interesting how they're going about it. I, of course, am quite interested in seeing how that's going to play out in the next movie. But we'll just have to wait and see how that goes. But, again, not really letting me know what to do here, but, alright, whatever. BB-8 wrecks it. Alright, there we go. Oh, here we go. BB-8. Oh, that's wonderful. Whee! BB-8 can fight. That's hilarious. Anyway, we then get to one of the bigger, more memorable scenes in the movie, and that is Rey confronting Snoke. Now, let me just say, the fact that it's Andy Serkis, Gollum, Caesar from Planet of the Apes, playing Snoke, I just absolutely love that. I love the fact that we have the guy who brought Caesar from Planet of the Apes, who brought Gollum from Lord of the Rings, bringing this character to life. And, of course, so many of us wanted to know more about what this character and what was going on. What's his story, and what does he have planned, and how did he convert Ben to the dark side, and we had all these questions about this character. So then we get what is supposed to be like a scene reminiscent of the throne room scene from Return of the Jedi, where Snoke is like taunting Rey the way Palpatine taunted Luke about like, oh, you think you can convert him, but he's mine. He's like he is my apprentice. You know, you remember how Palpatine was like taunting Luke in that regard. So it's basically kind of the same thing here with Snoke. He's like taunting her, saying the fleet of the Resistance will be destroyed. I can choose between these. Oh, well, I guess Jakku's the next one. Dakar, I don't know what that is. Anyway, yeah, there we go. Chapter 1, Assault on Jakku. We get that with some dialogue, and him trying to read Rey's mind, and then trying to force Kylo to kill her. And then we get a scene that many people have a problem with, and that is Snoke gets killed by Kylo Ren. He tricks Snoke with his mind. Well, because Snoke is reading his mind on what Kylo's gonna do, but Kylo is able to kind of like disguise his true intentions with his mind. Like he uses that against Snoke and kills him, and then Kylo and Rey then fight together against the, I guess they're called the Praetorian Guards, though we always used to call them the Imperial Guards, but I guess the Empire's not around anymore, so what else are we going to call them? And it's a fantastic fight. It's great. While that is going on, because again, we have to have multiple things going on, similar to Return of the Jedi, we have a scene where we have Poe launching a mutiny against Holdo because he thinks that she's not really doing anything to help save them. So he launches a mutiny trying to fulfill the plan that he set in motion with Finn and Rose. Finn and Rose and DJ get onto the ship to try and disable their lightspeed tracker. They get caught and they're going to be executed. DJ strikes a deal, betraying the Resistance. And Phasma shows up. Captain Phasma. Yes, she shows up and she has them under arrest and she's going to kill them, but not outright kill them because she's like, she goes all Bond film. She's like, oh, killing you by a blaster would be too good for you. We're going to make you suffer. She basically does the, you expect me to talk? No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die. But that gives them, of course, the time they need to survive. And it's just, the way they've handled this character, Captain Phasma, is just such a disappointment because this character had the potential to be a phenomenal character. But all she has been is a character that looks cool, but they've done nothing with. They've only had her around to look cool and sell merchandise, but they've done nothing with the character to make her a cool, worthy character. And it's so disheartening where now we're wondering whether or not she is going to come back for the next movie, but if they do, they can't handle her the way they have for 2 movies in a row. She has to actually have a strong, decent role in the next one. Otherwise, it's just a waste of a good actress and a good character, where they may only expand on this character in her own book, but again, being in the book is not the same as being in the movie, and it just feels like they're having the movie suffer at the expense of wanting to sell books, so that because for the people who want answers for the lore and backstory and actual story, and that does not feel good. All right, here we go. We're Poe in this opening level here. Interesting. Wait, can I fight these guys as BB-8? Yes, I can. I can fight them as BB-8. Absolutely. Yes. BB-8. Oh, man, that's fantastic. Uh-huh. Well, anyway, yeah, so while that is, because the hacker struck the deal, they then know that they're getting going in the little ships, so they start blasting them. Holdo remains behind because after, while the mutiny happens and Poe tries to have them ready to launch into light speed, they get captured, and then Leia comes back. She comes to, she stuns Poe and is like, oh, like, no, I was on Holdo's side the whole time. She was doing what I wanted her to do, and you were just being an idiot. But again, why didn't they just tell him this, what the plan was? Because they wanted to, pull one on the audience instead of it actually makes sense within the context of the story. That was just another thing that, it's my biggest, question with the biggest plot hole concern. It's just irritating in that regard. But this does lead to probably the very, like, the scene that takes your breath away, like the coolest scene in the movie, where in order to kind of stop them from destroying the rest of the Resistance transports, Holdo turns the cruiser around and she launches it into Snoke's ship and fleet. excuse me, via light speed. And for what I think may have been a good 5 to 10 seconds, when this happens, there is no sound at all, and things go black and white. Which I thought, well, I guess that makes sense. I mean, after all, in space, there is no sound. It was just a very cool way they shot that scene with no sound at all. So that leads to that, and it's a very cool scene. They get away. Rey also gets out of there after they defeat the Praetorian Guards. Kylo Ren then wants to take over the First Order, and he's all about like, let the past die, kill the past if we have to, and we also get a revelation on another thing that many of us were theorizing about leading into this movie, based on what we were given in The Force Awakens. Again, if they didn't play this up, it wouldn't have been that much of a thing, but because they played it up, it became a thing, and that is Rey's parents. And many of us theorized about it, who it could have been. Some of us thought Luke, some of us thought maybe Obi-Wan, though that would have been, I never really bought into that one, because that would have brought a lot of questions in terms of how old each of them were, and, you know, all that stuff, all those questions. But, according to Rey and Kylo, her parents were nobody, and they were just junkers who sold her off for drinking money, and they died in a junkyard or something. So she comes from nothing, and this plays into a theme about that they were making in this movie, about how she doesn't have to have come from a Skywalker lineage to be a savior force user or anything like that. That she could come from nothing, and she could just, you know, which I guess makes her a more relatable character, like where she's like more like us, or, you know, some of us common folk that come from nothing, or, you know, in that regard, where some, you know, you don't have to have been like from a royal bloodline or anything like that. Like, you're just the average Joe Schmo, but yet you're able to rise to this kind of level of greatness, which I guess they're trying to make her more relatable in that regard. But it was just kind of like, oh, okay, and it felt kind of disappointing, but once you kind of understand where they're trying to go with it, it's like, okay, I guess I can understand that. Again, when you see it for the first time, it feels disappointing, but when you see it the second time and you get kind of where they're going, or what direction they're going, you kind of get it more so and understand what they're trying to do and where they're going with that. And so she rejects, of course, his offer to join him, so they could rule the galaxy together, because apparently he I guess is insinuating that he cares for her, that he loves her, because he's like, that's right, you come from nothing, you're nothing, but you're not nothing to me. And it's like, oh, okay, so he's like, it's like, I love you, Rey, rule the galaxy with me at my side, I guess is what that whole thing is about, I guess. Hold on a second. Oh, there's one of those, you gotta keep it there in the middle. Gotcha. Oh my gosh, are you serious? Really? Oh, Lego games. BB-8 plays soccer. Of course, because he's a ball. Get it? Anyway, oh my gosh. Stormtrooper Scarecrow. That's horrifying. Oh gosh. Anyway, let me look at my notes here. So I mentioned that. This then leads us to the finale on a planet, I guess, of minerals or salts, I guess. Oh, hold on a second. Oh. Anyway, hold on a second, because I'm taking a moment to figure this out. Alright, there we go. This leads us to the Salt Planet, which is supposed to be like, I guess, kind of similar to Hoth in that it's an old hidden rebel base. It's all we have left, the only place we can go to try and send out a distress signal to allies on the Outer Rim. And Kylo Ren has now taken over the First Order. They send out the AT-ATs or the AT-ATs, whichever, however you want to say. It's like these new, bigger, more improved versions, which look awesome. They look so cool, so strong. And I just love how they handle that. But they also bring this ramming cannon, which they say is miniaturized Death Star tech, though I'm not really sure what exactly that means or why it's Death Star tech, but anyway, it's going to be able to easily break open their door, and they send out the little skiffs to try and stop it. And there's a scene, I guess, with Finn and Rose about, it's gets old. She's like, it's like, we defeat them not by destroying the things we hate, but by saving the things we love. And then Rose kisses him, and he has this look on his face like, oh, is there a thing between us? I never thought that. It's like, you feel like she had a thing for Finn, but he never had a thing for her, because of course he always, his thought was always about Rey. But we get that, and then they blow open the door, and no one responds to the distress call. They think everything is lost. And then all of a sudden we see Luke walk in. And he took the time to get his hair cut, to darken his beard, to shave his beard, and he looks all groomed up and trimmed up, and it's like, oh, Luke, look, you look so much better than you did just a little while ago. And you're like, huh? What's going on here? He talks to Leia, which is a nice touching moment between the two, since we know it's going to be the last time those two talk. And he gives a little wink to 3PO, because of course Luke was the only one who ever treated 3PO nice. He's like, Master Luke. He's like so happy to see him. He's like speechless. Luke walks out, and he's gonna face Kylo Ren, and Kylo's like, have every gun we have, shoot that man. And like, this was, when I saw this the first time, I was just I gasped because I couldn't believe what I was seeing. They fire, and all you see is this red pop up, and they do take a moment in the movie to like, when you walk on the salt on the surface, there's like a red mineral underneath, and they're like, salt. So they make that clear, but then when they shoot and you see the red minerals pop up, it almost looks like blood, and I almost thought they literally just blew up Luke. I was like, did they just kill him in the most gruesome way? And it was a little jarring, but then you see him just emerge from that like nothing. Why am I in this cardboard box? I don't get it. Anyway. So then the smoke and the dust clear, and Luke, he's there completely fine, and he does this amazing move that I just could not help but clap when I saw it. He does the brush the dirt off your shoulder thing. It was wonderful. It was fantastic. So Kylo Ren comes out to confront him. They're going to have their confrontation. Luke lights up his blue lightsaber, which was interesting, considering that it was just destroyed a while ago between Kylo and Rey. But Kylo didn't notice that. And I believe the reason he didn't notice that is because Kylo was in a blind rage at that point. He had seen the Millennium Falcon. He saw Luke, and he's like all mad and upset because he cannot stand seeing him and does not really notice the difference. And you start to notice that something's a little different. Something's a little off. Hold on a second. I think I did this wrong. Let's try this. There we go. There we go. Here's the thing that launches BB-8 up. But we then come to find out that Luke isn't actually there. He is just a hologram. Luke is projecting himself from the island to that planet, which, when you think about it, that's some pretty powerful stuff. The fact that he's able to do that. So Luke does this to buy them time to escape and survive, which they are able to do. And he kind of taunts Kylo, saying something like, it's like, because Kylo is so certain that when he defeats Luke, he'll have ended the Jedi, he'll have ended the Resistance, and he's like, no, you couldn't be more wrong. It's like, the Resistance is gonna live, the war is just beginning, and I won't be the last Jedi. And we see Rey use her Force powers, which have been growing, to help get them out of there and escape. And then, when it's revealed that it's a hologram, he's a see around kid, and then he fades away. We see Luke collapse, and then he just gets this big smile on his face as he's sitting there on the island, and then he just fades into the Force, very much exactly like how Yoda did in the Empire. Not in the Empire, in Return of the Jedi. When Yoda died, he just faded away and became one with the Force, and that's basically exactly what happened to Luke. I mean, we can question why the whole dynamic of was that something that was that a Force technique that was forbidden? Because if you do that, it takes so much power and energy that it could literally kill you and sap whatever life energy you have left. Is that why Luke had not done that before? Is that why we had never seen another Jedi do that before? And is that why he then was at peace and became one with the Force? And there's obviously no explanations really given, just kind of left for our interpretation and for us to figure out. But yeah, very interesting in that regard. Hold on a second. There we go. I forgot about this. So we then see that Rey has the text, and she saved Leia and the Resistance, and they're flying off in the Millennium Falcon. And then we end with a scene that I guess is supposed to inspire hope, which it shows the kids on that casino planet. We see they're talking about the legendary Luke Skywalker with their toys. It's a scene that's supposed to be reminiscent of how we were when we were kids, playing with Star Wars toys, talking about Luke and Star Wars. And then we see one of the kids use the Force to grab the broom he uses to clean, and he has the Resistance symbol on a ring. And that's when the movie ends, I guess, to say that, and of course I love the fact that he was holding a broom like a lightsaber, which is exactly how we always did when we were growing up playing Star Wars as kids. But I mean, I did like this movie, despite what many of the internet are saying, because this, as I said before, this is the most divisive I've ever seen the fan base about a Star Wars movie, more so than any other one, because some love this movie, some really like it, and some hate it. I saw some people saying this is the worst since The Phantom Menace. It's an absolutely garbage movie, and I mean, I disagree with that portion of the fan base. I don't think this movie is that bad. The Attack of the Clones is still my least favorite Star Wars movie, partly because some of the dialogue in that movie was just unbearable, especially the romance dialogue between Anakin and Padme. And of course, I don't blame Hayden Christensen and Natalie Portman for that. It's they were obviously given bad direction and bad writing, because, I mean, what can you really do as an actor with dialogue and direction that bad? But it's still just unbearable at times, where you just feel like you can't really just, it just drives you nuts watching that movie. Plus, I hated how they treated Jango Fett in that movie, much like how they're treating Captain Phasma in these movies. It's so, are there problems? Do I have my issues with it? Absolutely. But is it as bad as some people are saying? No, it's not. It's actually good, because they went in directions, bold new directions, that, while it may be somewhat challenging to some of the established lore that we have already had in not only the previous movies, but also in the previous expanded universe, it does expand on it, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. That they do go bold new directions with this that we didn't really expect, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. But again, it's partly going to depend on how they go from here. I think once we get the next movie and we see where the rest of the story goes, I think it will all start to become more clear. But that could also be determined because of the fact that we have a different gonna have a different director. We had a different director for this movie, and that's part of the problem. We had Abrams direct Force Awakens, and then we had a new director in Rian Johnson, and you start to think about how much of this is going to mess up what Abrams had in mind when he was doing Force Awakens. How much of what Rian Johnson has done. I love that I just got a trophy that says Star Trooper Syndrome because I missed a lot of shots. Way to bring up the whole anti-stormtrooper aim. I just love the fact they just did that just now. The people that make the Lego games, they just have so much fun with this. But I mean, I don't necessarily feel like I want to give a rating to this movie because I almost feel like I can't because it's too early. I feel like this is a movie that needs time to pass, that needs the other movies to provide more answers in order for us to get more context to the things that happened in this one. I don't know if Abrams is going to be able to salvage what happened in this one, considering that some of the stuff that he set up and teased in Force Awakens was kind of ended in this movie. I don't know what his full vision was, if he had been able to direct all three movies, where he would have gone. Because it feels like that this director wanted to do something different than what he did, and therefore change things and mess up what he did want to do. And I don't know. I'm not really sure what Abrams wants to do with what has happened here, what the full story is in terms of, oh, this director wanted to do this, but then this director decided to do this instead. I don't know what the full story is in that regard. I hope it's something that can be done, can be salvaged, can be fixed, but we just have to wait and see. As a standalone Star Wars movie, I would say that it's not... some have said they think it's worthy to be right next to Empire Strikes Back. That's that good, but unfortunately, because of some of those plot holes, I feel like I can't say that about this movie. There are just too many issues and plot holes, so I feel like I can't be able to say it's as good as Empire Strikes Back. But I don't think it's as bad as some of the prequels were. Attack of the Clones is still my least favorite, and despite what some people say, I don't hate The Phantom Menace, because there are still things about Phantom Menace I really like. I like Qui-Gon Jinn, I like Darth Maul, there are certain things about Phantom Menace I really liked. But of course, as Jar Jar Binks. But it's just, I don't know. Hold on a second. I just realized I was supposed to use this character, apparently. Okay. There we go. Alright. Okay. Gotcha. That's what I was supposed to do. But, I would say that if you're going to see this movie, see it at least 2 times, if not 3 times, because there are things you are going to miss and not understand the first time you see this movie, that it will then become more clear and obvious and understanding to you once you do see it a second time, because you'll notice and pay attention to certain things that you didn't notice before because you weren't sure if you should pay attention to it or not. But there were certain things that happened in the dialogue and what happened in the story that made much more sense to me the second time I saw it than it did the first time. So this is a movie that is the epitome of you have to see it at least twice to enjoy it more than probably any other movie out there. I'm very interested in seeing where they're going to go with this, how Abrams is going to deal with what happened in this movie. Since he's going to come back to direct the next one and somehow try and salvage what he was trying to establish and work on in Force Awakens. Now that he doesn't have to do I'm doing it similar to how he did it before to remind the fans that it's back. Now he can be able to just kind of do his own thing. Man, I just there again. This is I don't hate this movie, but I feel like I can't love it. I like it, but there were plot holes that I feel like if we were given more answers, we would be able to enjoy this movie more. And I feel like I can't give a full evaluation and such to this movie until we see the next movie when we hopefully have more answers and context. But those are my thoughts on The Last Jedi. I realize this was a really long review. But there was, like I said, there was a lot to talk about and think about in regards to this movie. There is so much to think about in regards to this movie and discuss. That's why a lot of spoiler review videos you'll see are like over an hour long, or an hour and a half long. I have watched a ton of spoiler talk videos, and I recommend you guys do that too because they each have different. It's very much like what Ben Kenobi said in Return of the Jedi when he told Luke, "What I told you was true from a certain point of view," and I feel like a lot of how you see this movie is going to be from a certain point of view. Oh my gosh, BB-8 just got crushed. But your own personal perspective and point of view, I think, is going to affect whether or not you like or enjoy this movie. Because we had many expectations and what we wanted from this movie, and it didn't really give us what we wanted. But I think once you then come to terms with, it's not going to give me what I want, but what it does give me, I can deal with it and buy it and understand it, and I think BB-8 is stuck. No, never mind. He was behind the ship. All right. I would say don't believe the underbelly of the internet Star Wars fans, if they can even call themselves fans, where they are saying this movie is garbage and this movie is trash and it's the worst we've had since the Phantom Menace. Is it somewhat of a mess in terms of its plot and story and plot holes? On its first viewing, yes, but when I say it becomes much more understanding, and on its second viewing, I really mean that. It really becomes much more understanding and such on its second viewing compared to its first. Now, that's kind of not a great thing to say about a movie, that you have to see it at least twice in order to actually understand it. You shouldn't have to, but that's just kind of how it is with this one. I think they would have been better served not having it that way, where you have to see it at least a second or third time to actually understand what's going on, or to try and understand figure out the plot holes and such. But that's just, I guess, kind of how it is. I will say this: there are certain things about the movie that I want to get the movie on. Like, I want to own the movie, like, on Blu-ray and such, which I will. It's Star Wars. But there are certain parts I want to go back to and pause, like, just to kind of, look at certain things. Like, when she first puts the books in her drawer on the Falcon. I know we saw it later on, but, like, I think we also see that. And, like, there are certain things you want to go back and rewatch. Of course, once we actually get it where we can pause and rewind and be able to, like, and also watch with subtitles in case there's certain dialogue we missed, we can be able to, I think, have a much better understanding of this movie and such. But those are, I guess, my basic thoughts on The Last Jedi. Probably the most controversial movie of the year because we had such high expectations for it. And all these theories and such, and it kind of, like, ruined a lot of those theories, which I guess is one of the reasons why a lot of people had a big problem with this movie. Because they wanted things, they didn't get it, and so they are going to hold that against the movie. that it doesn't give them exactly what they wanted. So, okay, I need Phasma for that. Interesting. Um, but yeah, that's basically how I feel about The Last Jedi. I liked it. Its plot holes can be a bit more forgiving in the second one, except for the whole Holdo versus Poe thing, because I still don't know why she didn't just tell him, other than the fact that it was apparently a plot hole or a thing just for the audience. But anyway, those are my thoughts on The Last Jedi. I realize this has gone on now for over an hour and a half of just me talking about the movie. But then again, there are a lot of spoiler review videos that are that long, even longer. But this is a movie that really makes you think and really makes you want to discuss the movie, because there are so many things to discuss and try and figure out and understand. So I feel like that's something that can actually help it, is when you're able to try and discuss it with someone else, see it multiple times. You may not like that that's how it is, but that's just kind of how it is. So that's yeah, so you guys have heard me ramble on about this long enough. So those are my thoughts about The Last Jedi. I want to see it again at some point, probably when it comes out on Blu-ray and such. And I will see you guys. If you guys, want to discuss it with me or have any questions or anything like that, feel free to write in the comments. I would love to discuss this with you guys and your own thoughts. If if you hated this movie, well, I guess, more power to you. But I didn't hate it. I didn't think it was that bad. I enjoyed it, but, to each his own, right? And I will see you guys next time.